How's it going around the Natty fans? We're back. It's been a minute, but we're going to ask you to comment, subscribe, like the video, give us a thumbs up, whatever media you're listening on. It would mean a lot. But also, we are going to be starting off each episode with a question of the week. With that being said, our first ever question of the week is, what is the best offseason acquisition for the Reds this year? You can send that into @around_the_Natty. We'd love to have a conversation with you, get your guys' opinions, and kind of just communicate with you guys about Cincy sports. So if you could send that in, it would mean a bunch. But with that being said, enjoy the episode.
Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome back to Around the Natty. I am your co-host Andrew. Joined here with me is Logan.
Yep, I'm Logan.
And we're back. It's been a minute. It's been a few months, right?
It's been a hot minute, yep.
Yeah, but we're excited to be back. We always say back and better than ever, right?
That's right.
All right, so we're ready to talk a little Cincy sports with you guys today. But before I do that, it's time. It's time for me to own up to my mistakes. I, in front of God and the Around the Natty listeners, made a bet out of blind fanship and optimism and stupidity.
Yes.
That well, that's how close I am to the team, how the Reds were going to make the playoffs. And the stakes were a case of beer, and unfortunately I lost that bet. Unfortunately for the whole city of Cincinnati, I lost that bet. But I own up on my mistakes today. A case of beer has been purchased, and we are going to partake in that now. Bud Light, give us a sponsor.
And while I don't take too much pride in this, I love to say I told you so.
Oh, God, that's good stuff.
That is good.
That is good stuff.
Makes my nipples hard.
All
Am I right, my guys? Oh, man.
But with that, with our lips smacking on the cold beer, we progress to a more hopeful time, to a more exciting time. Well, partially.
Right.
As the coronavirus looms on the MLB season, let's talk Reds.
Let's do it.
As you all know by now, by the time this goes out, Reds opening day as well as opening day for all of the MLB was pushed back at least 2 weeks. Spring training canceled due to coronavirus. And it's safe to say that's been done for pretty much all of sports at this point in time. But we're still going to be excited about it, and we're still leaning into it, and we're excited. So, with that, we're just going to kind of keep it simple this week. Since there's not a lot of going on with it being canceled and everything like that. We recently got a question from one of our gambling addict friends, Sean Bentley. What's the Twitter handle? Do you know it?
I believe it's at @SBentley22.
There you go. SBentley22. Look him up. Give him a follow. But his question was, how many times will the Reds get swept? Now, I do believe that is a betting question. But we found it interesting, and it's definitely a weird way to look at the season. And with that, so we're gonna dive into that, and I'm gonna let you take that away, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at it, I think he was specifically asking. I don't know if it was the way the bet's set up, or like the phrase for the bet set up, or if it's he just wasn't sure. I don't know why he asked it that way, but he asked it specifically within a 3-game series, what that would look like. And so we counted it up, and it looks like there's going to be about 28 3-game series throughout the season, not including playoffs, which there wouldn't be a 3-game series anyways. But anyways, And that being said, before I had known the number of total series in the season, I had estimated at 6. I think I'm going to dial back a little bit and go to 4. I think 4 is a more appropriate number in my opinion. That's like an 8th, right? Is that correct? Something like that?
Yeah, I don't. Have you had a
Not
chance?
quite an 8th.
I don't know if anybody off the top of their head could rattle off when an average team gets swept in an average season.
That's not really one you really want to focus on. It's not really the stat you really look for as a
Well,
fan.
there's always those guys who look for those odd stats. I mean, you get on the
Like
you get on
ESPN Daily, like he's the first player since 1975 to on the third Saturday of the weekend hit 2 home runs in the same day,
and then sneezed and wiped his shirt with his nose.
It's like, what's happening? I don't.
Yeah, they're really weird stats, and I'm sure you could find it if you looked online. But in my opinion, I don't think a sweep is, unless you're like a garbage ass team like the Pirates, that it's super common. I feel like you could, in a game where you play 3 or 4 games or less, or around there, you got to be able to win one most times, right?
Yeah. I don't know to be honest with you. It's one of those things where inevitably there will be times they get swept this season. And I'd probably say they'll probably get swept like 4 times throughout the entire season. And I think that from the season stretches across the better part of 6 months. I think it's going to happen.
I think 4 is fair. I still think it's a little high. I think the numbers. I think 2 or 3 is probably reasonable. We don't know how good this Reds team is going to be. There's a lot of wild cards, and we can talk about that here in a minute. But even the best teams get swept. The dirty, cheating, rotten shit Astros got swept by us, the Reds, who, as much as I hate to say it, weren't very good last year.
But by the way,
in 4 games.
So, and we tweeted this out on the account. Are you tired of seeing the Astros get heckled?
Nope.
Yeah, me either. I think it's pretty funny.
I love it, and I hope it goes on throughout the whole season. If they would have came out and said, "Yeah, we cheated," it was shitty, but do I regret it? Probably not. I got a World Series ring out of it. I would have respected that more than that robotic, terrible scripted apology.
And my thing is that listen, there's no doubt that they had a competitive advantage. No doubt.
No doubt.
But what I'll say is that, it's not like they're outside of. I mean, they just took sign stealing, which has been happening for a very long time, and made it better. They just did better, and I think that people don't like the way that it happened, and I think the technology, the wearable technology that they're sending,
that's ridiculous.
I think that's where people kind of get, but honestly, I mean, you put cameras in the dugout. What did you expect to happen?
I think they were also in the batter's eye.
I mean, what did you expect to happen? I mean, it's them. That as technology continues to become more and more a part of our games, whether it's baseball or football, what have you, you're going to see, and we've already seen it in other sports, you're going to see more and more of these kinds of things happening. Yeah. And since when in sports have we ever been upset about gaining a competitive advantage? I really think, and I would argue, that they just got caught doing what most people had been doing already, and if not doing already, then they're just doing it better than the other people were.
Or worse, because they got caught.
Okay, here's a question for you. You're a GM, you're a player, you're a manager, whatever. Do you cheat knowing that eventually you will probably get caught, but you will probably win a World Series? You know you're going to win at least 2 World Series.
Okay.
Do you do it? Is it worth it?
Do I know the punishment that's coming?
Well, if you're a player, there is none.
Right.
There is none. So
if I'm a player, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. If I'm getting the slap on the hand that these players got, sure. And I say the same thing about the Patriots and all that stuff. It's I'll trade a number 1 draft pick for a Super Bowl.
Do you think that it's
absolutely?
Do you think that this is better, worse, or equally as bad as steroid use in baseball?
That's a good question. That's actually a really good
Like
question.
so let's say Justin Verlander, for example, and then we'll take Roger Clemens. Okay.
Yeah.
So Roger Clemens, outside of the steroid thing, would be a Hall of Famer. I think, no question.
I agree.
So Justin Verlander, I think you could argue that a little bit more, but probably a Hall of Famer.
Probably.
Right? I mean, a lot of people get in the Hall of Fame in baseball. Probably a Hall of Famer. So, do you think that Justin Verlander knew about it, even though he didn't participate?
Yeah, I don't know if it benefits Justin Verlander.
Okay. Let's shift. Jose Altuve and Barry Bonds. Let's say Jose Altuve ends up he continues to have the great career that he's had so far, which he's had a pretty good career.
I agree.
Okay, I think if he continued on the trajectory he's on now, he'd eventually be a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying he's as good as Barry Bonds. That's not what I'm saying. But again, Hall of Famer, should Barry Bonds minus the steroids Hall of Famer, right? We can agree on that.
I agree.
So, do you think that steroids has more of a negative effect on Barry Bonds, or the Astro scandal has more of an effect on Jose Altuve? Which one is worse? So trying to make it as apples to apples as we can.
I agree.
Which one do you think has a greater stain?
Greater stain?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hard. I think it's hard pressed to say that this outweighs steroids. However, I think the sign stealing bothers me more.
Really? Why is that?
My big thing about steroids is like, yeah, they're hitting more home runs, but they still got to go out there and hit the ball. They still don't know. I think it's way harder to play that guessing game of breaking ball, fastball, and it really hurts the other teams. Like that's the big thing that bothers me is they're really hurting other players who are maybe just as good as them. Or
talk to the pitchers of the 80s and the 90s. See if they don't feel hurt by the steroid.
I get it. I get it. And you know what? I wish neither of them happened.
Oh, I mean, I agree.
But
I think every baseball purist would agree with you. I think both are bad for the game. Actually, you know what though? I'll amend that statement.
Steroids were great for the game.
And I think I think this year is the most I've heard people talk about baseball in a long time nationally. I think baseball is very popular regionally.
Yeah.
But nationally, baseball has always been, the last 20 years on the back burner.
Yeah.
And this has actually given baseball quite a lead on conversation across sports. And obviously now with coronavirus, things of that nature, and then before the coronavirus ultimately led to the canceling the NCAA tournament, so that would usually dominate the topic of conversation in sports. But my point to that is that I think that this has brought popularity to baseball. It's given baseball a villain to root against. I think that like them, love them, or indifferent, villains are good for sports.
I think dynasties are good for sports too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think dynasties eventually become villains because
yes.
I mean when you
the whole world hates them,
right? Yeah. You're rooting for them to eventually lose.
Yeah.
But
just ask the Patriots.
Right. Exactly. And so to that point, I would say that perhaps it was good for baseball.
Well, here, I don't like it, and it's kind of cheesy in the way that you're going to define it. But here's a question I have for you: is at what point does it become cheating for you? Because when you're
they cheated. I think they cheated.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm asking you to define: is I want you to define that line where it goes from the game to cheating. What is that line for you? And I think that's what everybody in baseball has to do is look and say, where is the line? Because there's cameras.
Right.
The games are broadcasted. You can go sit down in the clubhouse, but they have it on a delay. And
for me personally, where it crossed the line was when you introduced wearable technology that was supposedly in real time sending message to a batter saying, okay, breaking ball is coming, lay off this pitch, or a high heat's coming, go ahead. And that's where I think you cross. I really don't think, and this is my opinion, I don't think that using the recordable technology to learn the signs of the teams and then however you want to communicate that, if that's the third base coach looking at the signs of the catcher send it, whatever, and then communicating it to you somehow. Do you know what? You're just a gamer at that point. I think.
Yeah, I don't think that bothers. I think learning the signs is fine, and I think I think a majority of MLB fans and MLB people
there's a gamesmanship to that.
Would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's like studying film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Same thing.
Yeah. And if you're gonna show that, that's fine. But like, to me, the real time stuff, like the garbage cans and the wearable, that is definitely killer. And I just don't know how you define that in a rule, like any real time indication.
And that's why in terms of, I don't know. Like it's almost like, okay, like if I view this in the context of court of law, even though I probably shouldn't. Like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, what you did was icky, but like, did you break a law? Not really.
Yeah,
not technically, I guess. So like, if we're in court and I do something that's unsavory, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be looked down upon, but I can't just be put in jail because I did something that people don't like.
I mean, they broke the rules though.
I don't know that there's a rule that they broke.
Why was there punishment then?
For the players, there wasn't.
Yeah, but
and the reason and teams were the ones who the MLB didn't. They suspended the coaches for conduct unconducive to Major League Baseball or whatever. But that's like, that's a catch-all. You know what I mean? Again,
that is true.
That's like,
that is true.
That's like that's them coming out saying like, you didn't break a rule technically, but this is unsavory, and we're gonna do something to you. And I think I don't think it's right that the players aren't punished though. They were the ones.
Yeah.
They were the acting soldiers. You
know, Mike Fires, who was on the team. He's the one who kind of leaked it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I respect him for coming out and saying it, but his ass used it when he was there.
Right.
And he went and got a big old contract with Oakland.
Right.
It's kind of an immunity thing.
In terms of like how we should assign punishment, again, completely apples to oranges. But it's like, during World War II, like, do you condemn Nazi soldiers? They were just following orders, supposedly, or these players were just following orders, technically.
I know.
Like, can we? Again, I think that's an extreme, but in my opinion, in this case, yes, that's punishable. It's
kind of the same vibe, though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like, because the only people that are being affected are the leaders, and like and the other thing I think is terrible was Carlos Beltran. He was hired as the Mets general manager, or the Mets manager, and then they fired him because he was a part of it as a player. Yeah. And I don't think that's right. If current players not being punished, then why are you firing? As a man, that bothers me.
Manfred's such a bad commissioner.
Rob Manfred's a joke.
He's a terrible commissioner.
He is a joke.
The punishment should have been swift. It should have been quickly decided, and they should have moved on. Yet they dragged it out. And then they delivered this limp dick punishment.
Well, and my thing is like I'm not on the train of, okay, take away the World Series title, because I don't think that you can do that in history. Right?
Who do you give it to at that point?
Well, that's the thing. Like,
you pull, like,
what do you do? You want to put an asterisk next to your name? Sure, whatever, fine. Like, okay, like like stay in the reputation.
Same with Altuve's MVP.
And you know what? Even to that effect, like, you want to say that you can't fly the banner, and fine, like, whatever, like, that's fine. But, I've heard people suggest,
giving it to the Dodgers.
Like that, and then the postseason ban. I'm like, that's terrible. That's terrible for baseball.
Yeah.
Why would at that point just take them out of the league for a year or two, because they're playing meaningless baseball then?
Yeah.
And I think that
and you're ruining guys' careers.
Yeah.
Especially free agent signings who weren't there.
Well, and as a fan, there's still no doubt, even though they cheated, there's still some very good players on the team. And like, as a fan, like, I want to watch good baseball. I want to see the best players play.
Let's be completely fair here. Okay? The Astros can be shitty, and they can also be a very good team.
Right.
Like, they can be terrible and cheat and do all that. They probably would have made the playoffs anyways.
Oh, there's no doubt.
They probably could have won this World Series anyways.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind.
So that kind of alleviates, but it also pisses me off. And it's like, why did you do it if you're good enough anyways? And it's like, you also gotta think about it this way. And it doesn't make it better, but it also is kind of just shitty. It's like they got that competitive edge in their head, man. You know what I mean?
And that's my thing is, like, I will always, to some extent, I won't give pass, but I would prefer someone to cheat out of trying to gain a competitive advantage, as opposed to cheating in a way that's like, I got paid to throw a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, to me, that is, if your competitive nature and what's it called? Not the quality, but the integrity of the game is ever in question.
Yeah.
That's when I think that severe punishment should be imposed.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, and this is going to touch a lot of buttons of people. If we're talking Pete Rose, we don't know if he was betting for or against the Reds. I would like to believe that he was betting on his team to win. But to that point, if you want to juxtapose that with the steroid stuff, like, you know what? They were trying to win. They were trying to get competitive advantage.
That's true.
Maybe there is a possibility that he was trying to throw games here and there to win money. You never know. And that's
my big thing with Pete too is Pete had his chance. Pete had his chance to, 1, be reinstated, and 2, be ready to go in the Hall of Fame. And he told him no. He told him that he had to admit that he bet. He had to just do all he had to do was Johnny Bench went to bat for Pete Rose.
No pun intended.
And Pete, I love Pete Rose. He's one of the greatest Reds of all time. And Pete had his shot, and he told him no. At that point, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? You thought you were gonna win. You didn't win. Time to move on, Pete. Right. You make it in when you're dead.
Right. Well, on the Pete Rose conversation, I mean, we've had it before. I'm kind of done and over it. Like, it's been beaten to death. But my point to that though is that I think while I'm not offering a pass, I would say, I believe me, I'm enjoying all the heckling. I think they deserve it. They're cheaters.
Awesome.
But my thing is I would prefer to have that level of cheating versus, like I said, the integrity of the game being
100%. Without question.
Where people I never want to have to ask, are these guys trying to throw this game?
Without question.
So
before we move on, if you guys agree with that or disagree with that, let us know. Shoot us a tweet. The Twitter's at the beginning of the episode, so we'd love to hear from you guys. Moving on, though, this is it's kind of going to be a short one for us. But we the coronavirus has kind of put a damper on our sports love right now. But we have to talk about the Bearcats, men's basketball. And I'll just open it up with a question here, Logan. What's their season of disappointment? Do you feel disappointed by their season? Do you feel they overachieved, underachieved? Kind of how are you feeling about that?
So I don't really believe. So let's investigate the facts. The facts were we had the returning AAC Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We also had 2 other starters.
Yeah.
Leave either because they graduated or transfer, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a brand new first time coach of UC.
Right.
Change in the athletic director, new coaching staff, new system. Recruits coming, going, that kind of being in the air.
Yeah.
Not really knowing what the status of that is. New players coming in and starting. A lot of moving pieces. Okay.
Yeah. It was a very active offseason.
I think it was fair to have the expectation and demand competitiveness from this team. And I think that for the most part we got that.
I agree.
I think that it is also fair criticism to come out and say you shouldn't have 5 quadrant 4 losses.
That's also very agreeable.
I think that I think you can explain and provide reasons why that was. But again, that should have been what I will tell you is that even with that, all those things considered, we were still number 1 seed in the AAC tournament going into the tournament before it got canceled. We still had a very reasonable shot to making it into the NCAA tournament. In addition to that, a team who, in the same city, just a couple miles down the road, who returned multiple prime contributors and most of them starters for a second consecutive year, would have missed the NCAA tournament again for the second consecutive year.
Yeah.
And
NIT, baby.
And what I'll say to that is, I think that you saw growth in players.
Yes.
And we'll talk about one in particular here soon. You saw, especially at the end of the season, excellent contributions from freshmen. You saw Micah Adams-Woods grow into not only just a starter but a primary contributor of
Keith
offense.
Williams, who was also kind of frustrating last year.
Hello, Around the Natty fans. This is Andrew, the better half of the Around the Natty podcast. Just jumping in the middle of the episode to let you know, or just give you an update, or warning, rather, about the odd cut in the middle of this episode. I got some new hardware to record our episode on. We are just learning how to use it, so bear with us in that time frame. Shouldn't happen in the future, but just so you're aware, there's an odd cut. We took a short break to figure it out. Shouldn't happen. So enjoy the rest of the show.
Difficulties, they have been resolved, and we're ready to resume the episode. So where we left off was we were talking about our Bearcats and in the season. Was it a disappointment? Did we think it was a good season? And I think we left off with we had some players that were contributing. That had made some progress and some development going forward, and go ahead with that, Logan.
Yeah, so my thing is, because of the anticlimactic nature of the season too, I think it's hard to say. We didn't really have an end, and so I don't think it's really fair to make a full assessment, because a lot of, for me, there's good, there's bad, there are some ugly.
Yeah.
And I would have really liked to see
Bowling Green.
I would have really liked to see Colgate.
Colgate.
I would have really liked to have seen the season play out and kind of get an idea of where we went. Because the other thing is how long has it been since we've been out of the first weekend of the tournament? It's been a long time.
That's true.
And that was always the biggest knock on Mick Cronin was that he can get you there, but he can't take you very far, and so...
He's like Dusty Baker.
Yeah, so I would have loved... And I really think that, you saw a team that was able to play through some really gritty, tough games.
Right.
And I think that bodes well for you in the NCAA tournament, and you only have to win one at a time. And, I really think that would have been... The AAC tournament and the NCAA tournament, had we made it, would have really been able to give it a defining... characteristic or name to the season.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can say that it was a disappointment by any stretch of the imagination, and I just wish we could have seen it out to the end.
I agree. I don't think it was a disappointment. Early in the season when we're sitting there watching and they lose to Colgate and then they lose to Bowling Green, you're going, what the hell is going on? And Jaron's sitting and the team doesn't seem to meld at all. And, and I think this is a fair assessment. It's kind of the comparison that we had the last time we talked about them was they're very similar to where Xavier was last year.
Right.
And I think a lot of it developed that same way. Now, I'm so proud of the way they finished. They had so many clutch wins in overtime. Now, whether or not they should have been in overtime is to be debated at another time.
Yeah,
but,
and you know what? You drop games to ECU and UConn, which you shouldn't. Or I guess did they win in UConn?
I think they beat UConn.
Was it Memphis that we lost? Yeah, Memphis and ECU, games that you really should win.
Yes.
But you know what? Your drop conference games, and to be honest with you, they really don't hurt you that bad if you don't lose to a Bowling Green, to a Colgate early in the season. And that's what really hurts your record or your resume going into the tournament. But we talked a little about the struggles of Jaron Cumberland and what that kind of meant for the team.
Yeah.
Let's talk about someone who, let's just do this. Who was the MVP of the season for the Bearcats for you? I think we might be a shared answer here. Go ahead.
And without question, I think anybody who follows UC basketball will share this opinion. Trey Scott. My God, what a year for that man.
And not only was he the MVP of the season, in my opinion, I completely agree. I really think he might be the best NBA prospect on the team currently. And, with the continual development of his outside shot and as he continues to extend his range, if he can hit at a decent clip from the outside, he can guard on the perimeter. He's a very long, athletic body. In today's NBA, he's the guy. Maybe he's not a star, but he's a great role player. He definitely can find minutes in the NBA, and so good for him having a great season. I think that part of it was John Brannon's system. I think that he thrived in the system.
Yeah.
John Brannon brought out the best in him and Keith Williams and some other guys.
Man, God, you look at votes. You look at votes.
He struggled at the end of the season. In fairness,
his foul trouble really hurt him.
Yeah.
But this season's probably one of the best of his career. If you look at if you look at what he was doing at NKU, I mean, he's averaging 8 points at high. He's coming over here averaging double-doubles,
right.
And he really found success, and we had some guys step up, and, it seemed like Jaron regressed a little bit. But with guys like Trey Scott stepping up and developing, and Keith Williams and
really in the NCAA tournament, that's what you need is you need to have a second and third option. You know, when your go-to guy is struggling. First of all, I was just glad we had a go-to guy. When you needed a bucket, you know who you're going to. You're going to Jaron Cumberland, and for better or for worse, that was who you're going to, and that's great. But then on days where Jaron came out and he was struggling, you had guys who on a consistent basis could provide you offense, could provide you stability, who defended well at all times. And, I think that was a recipe for success going into the tournament. So it's sad we won't get to see what would have been.
Yeah, I agree. And that kind of leads me to a question I had. And it's something I was thinking about, and I kind of wanted your opinion on. And if you guys want to weigh in on Twitter as well, we're definitely going to lean into that, and we want to encourage that. But, do you think the NCAA did the right thing in canceling it? Or do you think, I sit there and I think maybe it would have been better to give it some time and then maybe reassess and figure out the logistics later? What are your thoughts on that, Logan?
Well, let me first say that I'm not an immunologist, okay?
Yeah.
What I will tell you is that regardless of what we say or think, regardless of what political head figures say, regardless of what your favorite, radio broadcaster or news broadcaster says, intelligent people usually take the information from the experts. The experts say that the social distancing is the best way to prevent widespread of the virus itself, and that it was per their recommendation that they canceled the NCAA tournament. So, again, while maybe it seems extreme, I think that in terms of trying to limit the exposure, the spread, I definitely understand it, and I really hate the nature of amateurism in college basketball. Yeah. Because if that didn't exist, there really wouldn't be a problem, because there wouldn't be a timeline of when we would say, okay, we have to cancel it because we can't just move it back. Mm-hmm. Regrettably, the reality is that these guys are either graduating or moving on to the professional level or what have you, and due to stipulations and the rules and regulations, they wouldn't be eligible to play after May. So there was the talk of the May Madness, but regrettably, it just wasn't really feasible. And it's sad. It's sad on a lot of accounts, and not just as a Cincinnati fan. I mean, another local area, the Dayton Flyers had a real chance to win the NCAA tournament this year, and that may never happen again. Yeah. The last time they made the Final Four was in the 1967 season or something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's really sad. You would have loved to see guys like Obi Toppin go in and watch them play. It's sad and it's unfortunate, but I think that, again, you have to just take the information you have from the experts. I'm certainly not one, even though I am a healthcare professional. I'm certainly no immunologist, but what the most intelligent people, the most qualified people are saying that this is the correct thing to do.
Well, I think that's a good response, but my question is to you: do you think it's a viable option to? Everybody's so eager to cancel and be done, and it's like we don't know in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's premature? Obviously, I mean, I'm assuming from your tone and kind of the response you gave that you don't think it's aggressive. But do you think it's premature to or reckless to say we're going to postpone, and then in 3 weeks or so you can either say, hey, we've reassessed, we don't think it's going to be possible, or say, hey, it's been 3 weeks, things have kind of died down, we feel a little bit better, let's let this rock.
Again, in terms of keeping this more as much as we can within the realm of sports, I think with professional sports, that's what they're doing. They're just postponing because they can. Yeah. I think that and if you listen to Jay Billis speak, who was a great
cracking another beer, by the way,
great explicator of these legal implicative matters. Right. The amateurism of college basketball it makes it in other college sports as well. Yeah. It makes it difficult, if not impossible, to really do that and create those kinds of timelines. In addition to that, I mean, it's not like they can like just be practicing on campus. The campuses are closed. These
Yeah.
kids are getting sent home.
That's
you
true.
know? And most of them, at least the ones who have a shot, of going to the next level, specifically in college basketball, will start preparing for that, and they'll start working towards that. And it's unfortunate for them, and there's no doubt in my mind that there's gonna be tears, and there have been tears shed. But it's okay. This is my reality, and I got to move on and work towards what might be next for me. And I get that, and it's just the nature of amateurism.
I think that's very fair, and I think that's a really great point. Is these campuses are closed, and you want to keep these guys. You want to make sure these games are them at their best, and some people didn't end how they wanted to, and some people ended how they wanted to, but at the end of the day, health is important, I guess. And, it's just really hard for me to think about a day where there's not March Madness,
Yeah.
And it's rough.
March Sadness, man.
It's fucking rough. And, you got to think about these kids and what's next for them and how they're going to adjust. So I 100% respect that opinion. And, I'm not an expert either, so... it's rough. And, especially since, it looked pretty good for UC. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think that they had a great shot.
I think they had a really good shot, depending on how the tournament went, the AAC tournament. But, yeah, I think you look at the Bearcats season and based on the expectations, well, I had good expectations, but based on what was laid out and kind of how the season began, I couldn't ask for a better end.
Yeah.
With Trey Scott on a buzzer beater, against Rutgers.
Wow.
What a great game and what a great moment for him that he'll probably remember for the rest of his life, regardless of whether he goes to the NBA or not or whatever he decides to do. But yeah, do you have anything else you want to add on that, man? I can't think of anything else.
No, and one thing I will say is that again, I understand that some people are frightened, some people are annoyed.
Yeah.
What I'll say is, take the proper precautions. Again, listen to the intelligent people.
Wash your hands, folks.
I would encourage you because it's annoying. I wanted to go buy a couple steaks tonight from Kroger to grill out. It's annoying that I can't go to Kroger because there's nothing in the Kroger no more.
I love Kroger's.
I like to go to the Kroger's and buy some meats and put it on my grill. But anyways, just don't be foolish.
Yeah, stay safe out there, man.
Thoughts and prayers with those who are affected financially, and obviously there's some things with that, but that's really it for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we kind of plugged this at the beginning of the episode, but we're gonna plug it again because we're not getting the participation we want, and we really want to talk. We want to talk to you guys. We want to have conversations with you guys. We want to argue with you guys on Twitter. It's what we live for, and we need you guys to weigh in. We know it's been a long time. We're sorry. We're so sorry. It's been hectic. I know it's not an excuse. Coronavirus did it. Okay? Blame coronavirus. But with that, we have a Twitter. Our Twitter is @around_the_Nati. We have an Instagram. It's the same. We have a Facebook. All that's linked within our Twitter. I don't know the name off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But please, if you see our videos, if you see a link to our videos, anything, share it out. Share it out if you enjoy the content. I'm not going to force you to do it, or maybe I will. I don't know.
If you get to this point, you have to at least not hate it.
Right. If you're at this point in the episode, you have to like it a little bit. So share it. Promote it.
Like it.
Promote it, please. It would mean so much if you just promoted it. But other than that, I'm gonna defer to you, Logan. Say the favorite phrase of the damn podcast.
Yeah, this was the Around the Natty podcast. I'm Logan.
I'm Andrew,
and we'll catch you around the Natty.